Good evening, my name is Doreen Rael, and I am wanting to discuss the differences between the aging and disability, the differences between the two. So the first question in the class was, what is your personal understanding of what it means to be old? What it means to be old is a natural progression in life which slows down our ability for certain motor skills and functions. For example, a pilot having to retire because his eyesight is worsening due to cataracts, which happens with age. The next part of the question is, what is your personal understanding of what it means to be disabled? So disability is a physical or mental limitation, which is an inability to perform certain tasks because of physical impairments. An example of that would be a paraplegic, someone in a wheelchair, unable to become a tap dancer, for example. Now, the next question is, how might your understanding of the aging and disability compare to someone of a different generation? So, in certain cultures, to have a family member that has a disability is considered to be shameful. So they don't come out in public. It's kind of like an embarrassment. So it's not talked about. They're hidden away. Now, as far as the aging process, if there was the older generation looks at the aging process as a weakness, you see the older generation has a stronger work ethic. If you look at the next generation, you do see a weakness because their work ethic isn't there. The next question is, if someone in your family needed care due to aging and or disability, who would be responsible for providing that care and why? In my culture and Hispanic culture, it would be the family that takes care of you. My definition of family is not just blood related, but somebody that has always been there for you, more than a friend, just a step up from a friend that you can rely on. My grandma had Alzheimer's, and she was blessed with 12 children. 10 are still living, and they took care of her. They took turns taking care of her. So that was huge. It was never an option to put her in a nursing home and put her care in somebody else's hands. My family's whole deal was nobody could take better care of her than her own children. So I feel very strongly that it's important for family members to be caregivers. Now, the next part is, describe some ways in life you've been impacted by aging or disability. So going back to my grandma with Alzheimer's, it was both aging and disability that kind of took her own personality away from us. I see Alzheimer's as a disability because it impaired her from being the type of person that she was her whole life, and that has to do with aging as well. It was a huge impact in our family. She was the glue of our family. She kept us in line. She was strong in her faith and kept us up in our faith. So to lose a piece of her every single day because of the aging, she wasn't able to make tortillas and make food, and that was dealing with her aging. But we weren't able to hold conversations with her anymore because of her dementia, and that was heartbreaking because she didn't even know who we were. most days. So, I mean, it was really hard to deal with. Now, the next part of the assignment, it says identify at least 3 statistics. The statistics, I'm going to read them, is every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall. Every 19 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall. The reason I chose this statistic is because my grandma was 90 years old. She wasn't in her right state of mind, but she was still mobile. She was still able to get around. She was a little bit slower, but once she took a fall, that was it. Maybe she lasted maybe about 3 weeks after that. So that's a really important statistic to me because I saw firsthand what a fall for an elderly person can do. The next statistic that I showed was the most recent studies indicate that 7 to 10% of elderly suffered from at least one episode of abuse within the past year. Now, this is huge to me too because it goes back to the question about why it is important for me, for family to be caregivers. Not saying that no family members are abusive towards certain elderly, but that was a huge deal for my family to not put the care of my grandma into other people's hands because you don't know what type of frustrations people are having and how they take it out on certain people, and the elderly shouldn't have to suffer. They're already going through enough. So I chose that statistic. That was very huge. The last statistic is older adults are working longer. 23% of men and about 15% of women ages 65 and older are still working. They're still in the labor force, and it says it's projected to rise further by 2022 to 27% for men and 20% for women. And this is huge because I know in our society we have raised the age to retire. But the sad fact is you see a lot of elderly people going back to work because they can't afford to live on the Social Security benefits that they get. Things are cut. Healthcare is insane for them, so they can't afford to live in their golden years because it's not golden for them. It's very, 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 very sad. So I chose that statistic because it just shows what our society has become. And that was the final question. Based on what you have learned so far in this course, explain how you feel we as a society can do better at addressing the social and healthcare needs of aging or the disabled. Social Security is huge. Medicare benefits are not that great. Medications, I mean, you shouldn't have to go back to work just to pay for your medications. It's insane. It's a vicious cycle. I just don't agree with anything. I'd like to see a change in that. I mean, it's kind of scary because you work all your life and you look forward to retirement, but when you get there, it's just like a dead-end road, and it's not fair, and something needs to be done. To help ease the pressure of living longer or living with a disability. And I think we as a society need to improve our values, our compassion, everything that goes with it. Thank you.